Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Crimson Panda here, back with our Mercenaries priority upgrade guides. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the second part of our Protectors upgrading. If you haven't seen part one, there will be a link in the top right corner of this video for you guys to go and check that out. But before you do, I just wanted to take a quick second to say that we have the new Mercenaries update coming today. It's probably going to be out in a couple of hours after this video goes live, and I am very optimistic in thinking that we're going to get quite a lot of new Mercenary players, at least try the game out to see what the new task system is all about. So what I'm asking everybody to do is if you could just take a second to scroll down and give this video a thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend this video to as many people as possible so that we can try and entice them into the game and try to make Mercenaries a little bit more popular than what it is. If any of those people end up going on to PvP, that's automatically going to start filtering out some of those Blizzard bots that we keep seeing at the high end of the leaderboards. Also, if this video helps you in any way at all, then to support the channel even further, make sure while you're down there giving this one a thumbs up that you consider subscribing as well. Now, with that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, and to kick part 2 off, we have one of the new mercenaries, and that is Medivh. So Medivh is a very good mercenary, seeing quite a lot of play on PvP, and the reason being is his unstable ruins. So you're able to counter out quite a lot of your opponent's first turns to disable Valyria stealths, Trigor backlashes, etc. So Medivh has been fitted into quite a lot of comps in order to prevent those ones from really going off. I didn't really know how good Medivh was whilst upgrading him, which is why the ruins is actually the last thing I've upgraded other than the Raven. This is actually a priority. This should probably be the first thing you upgrade. And I have mistakenly not done that, so hopefully you guys don't do what I did and you upgrade this one first. As of his abilities, you're going to want to upgrade Arcane Rift first, because this is the thing that is going to be dealing damage. You're going to be able to combo it with any other arcane ability, enabling that to do critical damage, which is huge for every arcane merc, especially with this one being a 5-speed. With the other arcane abilities on most mercs being 5-speed or more, it really does combo out nicely with an arcane build. And then after that, you're probably going to want to do the Medivh staff, so you can buff all your casters if you got caster comp you kind of want to be using that with. And then also Medivh's locket being after that. It basically, between these two, it depends on what sort of build you want to make, but definitely unstable ruins being a priority. And then Mage Guard and Raven can be bounced between the two, just doing them as and when you have the spare coins. Next up, we have Mr.Smite. Now, Mr.Smite is a very fun mercenary. He is only used in a specific pirate build called the Smite combo. So with that in mind, his upgrade stuff is basically going to be Overboard grants an additional 6 attack if a damaged minion is a friendly pirate. So this is going to be the priority equipment, and then the priority ability is going to be Overboard. So after a friendly character is damaged his turn, gain 10 health and attack a random enemy. So with the heavy anchor, he's going to gain 6 attack as well, which is going to scale his health and attack up every time a friendly character takes damage. Obviously paired up with Cornelius, a mercenary that we've already spoken about, he is going to obviously start doing some weird shenanigans, trying to clear off the board whilst Cornelius takes the damage, because that's a friendly character. So they are the main two that you're going to want to be focusing on. And then you're probably going to want to do the taunt one, because it's a 2-speed taunt. You might want to slot him in somewhere, and then everything else you kind of just want to go with the abilities first and then start doing the equipments after with the spare coins you have left over. Okay, next up we have Murloc Holmes. Now, Murloc Holmes is a fairly new mercenary as well, and he is very fun in specific builds, but not just a Murloc build. So the ability that stands out to me the most in PvP was the Elementary, being able to give a character Divine Shield, and if they lose it, they gain attack and attack an enemy opposite them. If you're playing this in a buff build, then this Elementary is insane. I definitely would recommend doing that first. As of the equipments, I was using him in a Watson summon build, so I went with trying to upgrade Watson first. Obviously I haven't got too many coins for Murloc Holmes, and I'm waiting for the exchange thing instead of really farming him to see what that's all about. But yeah, definitely go with the elementary and the trusty sidekick first. Battlecry, give your mercs game 1/1 and refresh your abilities is also a very good one, because it enables you to be able to play Murloc Holmes on an opener instead of a bench. And then basically you're going to want to be doing probably and the killer is, because this gives you a prediction and a bonus if you can utilize that in such a way. And then hot on the K's, gaining 4 attack, attack an enemy, and then it takes crit damage after it acts next turn is a little bit too slow. The elementary is kind of what you want to be going for with Murloc Holmes, plus it's a nature which you can combo that out with some Murlocs as well if you want to do it in a Murloc build. So yeah, definitely go for elementary, and then in my opinion the sidekick is very good. And then the other two I haven't really used. As you can see, they're not maxed or leveled at all, so I haven't seen much play with these, so just do these as and when you feel that you're going to need them. Okay, next on the list is Niuzao. So Niuzao hasn't seen much play on PvP. He's a very much a tech mercenary that you're going to be using to protect mercenaries on the bench. So with that being in mind, you're going to want to be upgrading Blessing of the Ox. Each time a friendly character is damaged this turn, give them Divine Shield. That's going to protect them a lot more than your characters taking 5 less for 2 turns. Even though Bullish Fortitude is good, it's not quite as good as Blessing of the Ox, especially coming off the bench. And you can actually do, once a friendly character loses Divine Shield, give them extra health, or you can go for the passive, which most people do after this merc deals damage, deal 5 damage to them. And then the Bullish Belt, Bullish Fortitude, reduces damage taken by 5 more, which is very good. In my opinion, I would probably use this one, the Bullish Belt. Prioritize that one so that if you do end up bringing them out on the bench or from the bench, then once you do taunt up and protect your other characters, they're going to be taking 10 less damage, which we know is very good thanks to Boggy and Nemzi and also Cho. So priorities, Blessing of the Ox, then go for the Bullish Belt in my opinion, and then Bullish Fortitude obviously because you're going for the belt, and then you're going to want to go for either your other ability, your other equipments, depending on if you want to use it in a Divine Shield build or any other sort of build, like mainly really a Divine Shield build if they're going to gain health from that, and obviously Divine Shields. And then Headbutt really isn't very good, but I guess you would probably have to upgrade that before the other 2 equipments, because this is the only way this merc can actually deal damage unless it's just being attacked. Okay, so next we have Prince Malchezaar. Now, Prince Malchezaar is a very, very fun mercenary, very much a tech mercenary, again, going up against old gods and stuff, and that is because the Parrying Blade. So this is the priority equipment. Battlecry permanently reduced the protectors and casters by 10. This is huge. You will play this in a comp where you maybe bounce it back to your bench so that you can get this Battlecry off for a second time, which has seen quite a lot of play in PvP, so that is definitely the priority equipment. And then as of the abilities, you'll probably want to go kind of in order with these. So you want to attack an enemy. If it's a protector, it takes 10 more. You're going to be buffing Prince Malchezaar while he's on your bench in the comp that I've seen, so that's definitely the fastest one where it attacks. And then probably all realities, where deal 23 damage to an enemy you axe. If it's a caster, set it to 5, is probably the next one you want to upgrade. I went with check your weapons, dealing 18 damage to the highest attack enemy. If it's fire, permanently half it. This was just, I wasn't sure what to do, so I just went in order with these, but knowing full well that Parrying Blade was actually the priority I wanted to do. So go for Parrying Blade, Party Crasher, and then you can kind of go anywhere else, even with your equipments, but I would recommend doing your abilities first because you're probably going to be using this majority of the time. Okay, next up we have Ragnaros. Now, Ragnaros is mainly a PvE mercenary. He is used to try and wipe out your opponent's board in one turn thanks to Die Insect, and just really speed your way through some of those 1/1 bounties you're trying to just gain coins with. But that was the thing of the past. Now I imagine with this new update you won't be doing that much, but the priorities here is probably go for the passive +3 fire damage just in case the PvE element is going to be in effect. If you're using him mainly for PvP, then prioritize Surfang so that your characters cannot be be Frozen. That's probably his best one for PvP, and he gains an extra 20 health, which is nice. And then as of the equipment, you're probably going to want to go with Magma Blast, and then, well, probably in order here. So Magma Blast is obviously going to be very good to combo out with other fire units. Die Insect is just a absolute powerhouse when it comes to PvE, and then Meteor is an occasional one you use in PvE because the cooldown is too much. You don't really use that as often as the other two. So in my opinion here, PvP you want to go for Surface and then Magma Blast, Die Insects, and in PvE you want to go for Blazing Rune and then Die Insects straight away after that, just so you can finish all of the opponent's mercs straight away in those PvE matches. Next we have Sir Finley. Now Sir Finley being another Murloc, fairly new, not really as new as like a lot of mercenaries that we got in the big drop, but the priority guides here, you're probably going to want to go with the Discover a Depleted Murloc ability. This can get some crazy shenanigans from your other Murlocs. It can gain the Fin Invasion, which makes all your Murlocs attack at 5 speed, which is very, very good with Sir Finley, especially if you buff him up. The ability, the equipment you want to go with is Maxwell Might Steed, because passive give your Murlocs an extra 10 health and your Explorer 6 attack. Just the extra 10 health on your Murlocs in a Murloc comp is huge. That is the only one that really sees play. You don't do Lead the Charge, gives your Explorer's attack, and you don't do passive after a friendly character loses Divine Shield till 10 damage to an enemy. There's not enough Divine Shield in the game to be able to do that, and Lead the Charge just isn't that great on Explorers because you're running it in a Murloc deck. So Lead the Charge here, give a friendly 12 attack, and Divine Shield will be the second ability you want to upgrade after this. And then the Adventurer Awaits, gain 8 health and attack an enemy, is kind of okay. If you have more characters, gain Divine Shield can be very good in a token type build, but in my opinion I would go for the middle ability, then Lead the Charge, and then the first ability. So next up is Sneed. Sneed is a pirate mercenary, and the way you want to be playing Sneed is obviously in a pirate build so that you can gain some speed increases thanks to Edwin. So the best equipment to start with is Extra Blades. Start with Active Saw 5 for 2 turns. So Active Saw is going to gain 9 attack for 2 turns and attack a random enemy once you use this ability. So being able to gain 9 attacks straight away is absolutely huge. It's going to put him to 18, and these abilities are going to be 0 speed thanks to Edwin. So if I was you, I would upgrade Active Saw first, because that's going to enable your Extra Blades to be obviously Active Saw 5. And then you go for the Buzz. The Buzz deals damage equal to your attack. If your Active Saw is active, which it always is, you want to then target neighbors with that Active Saw. So you're going to be dealing 18 damage to 3 units at only a 2 speed thanks to Edwin. So you want to go Extra Blades, Active Saw, and then Buzz for those 3 main things. You don't really use Skull Dust, and you don't really use the Titanium Blades. Disarm, you very rarely use that unless you just want to attack an enemy at a 0 speed thanks to Edwin. So that is those ones you want to be doing in order there. Next up, a brand new mercenary, we have Tess. So Tess, as you can see here from what I've upgraded, now I've actually done this one in the correct order, and let me talk through it. So the equipment here, you've got the Steadfast Conviction. This is passive +4 +8. After this merc deals damage to a merc, gain roll advantage. So once you've dealt damage to something, it's going to switch to the advantage of the merc you dealt damage to. So that is the equipment you primarily want to be upgrading. And then next you're going to want to go with Yoink, because Yoink is dealing 15 damage and then transforming. Very, very fun to do. And then Princess Power, you're discovering an ability. Once you've casted 12, you then get to what I'm capable of, which just casts 5 random abilities that have been used this game or that can be used. You can then use this equipment, probably will be the next one you want to upgrade, because transforming your Yoink and your Moonlight Resolve into random single uses is very good. All you're going to be doing as well as that is gaining extra health. So the health is obviously nice, but you're using that for the start of the game transform on occasions. I've seen that in PvP where people have been using that just so that you can get some random stuff instead of their Yoink and Moonlight. But most people have been using this where Tess gets extra stats and also the roll advantage as well. Okay, next up we have Lich King. So Lich King is an OG merc. He's been around for a long time. So the way you want to be playing the Lich King is you probably want to be using Frostmourne, where your Frostbite slows target neighbors as well, because you only really use him when you want to be slowing down units for turn 2, like he's been used against Trigor. You punch Trigor in the middle, that cleaves the slow with Frostbite, being able to deny Trigor being able to backlash the second turn. So with that being said, you're going to want to upgrade Frostbite first, attack an enemy. The ability it casts next turn is permanently 5 speed slower, which is very, very good. Then you're going to want to go into a Death Coil, because this heals you for 30 or a friendly character for 30, and then deals 18 damage to an enemy, which is pretty strong, especially against a green. You can then, if you're using that on the bench with Death Coil, have the Void Trance, which Death Coil always restores 10 health to this merc. So even if you deal the damage, you're going to heal the Lich King up a little bit. So they're really the ones you want to do. So if you're running it in a one where you want to stop people doing stuff, then these two are probably the best ones you want to upgrade first. But if you're using it on a bench and you want to just be able to heal him a little bit, then Void and Death Coil, you want to upgrade those two at the same time as well. The Frost Shield, not very good on cooldown, not very good being a 2-speed taunt on cooldown especially. And then the passive, your enemy casts a 7 ability or higher, deal 10 frost to him, isn't very strong. Maybe pair it with Local Art, where Local Art actually gains some frost damage. It could deal a little bit more damage, but it's not going to be a lot. It's a lot better to use the other equipments. Next up we have Thrall. Now Thrall is a mercenary you get really early on, or you did once you didn't have many mercenaries in the game. The equipment you're going to want to do with Thrall primarily is Doomhammer, giving him Wind Fury. He's the only merc that is enabled Wind Fury via a equipment, so gaining 4 attack and having Wind Fury is going to put him to 15. That's going to deal 30 to any merc other than green units, where it's going to deal 60, which is just an absolute insane amount. Unfortunately, his abilities aren't fantastic, but the way you want to upgrade him is you want to do Fall of Horde, because this gives you an extra 5 attack, which will put him to 20, and then attacks an enemy twice because of the Wind Fury. Next, you want to be doing Lightning Storm, because it's just an okay AoE. It denies Valyria stealth as well. The equipments, you don't want to be doing any of these two until the very last. You want to be going Doomhammer, Fall Horde, Lightning Storm, War Chief's Command, and then these other two equipments, because they just do not see any play compared to Doomhammer. Next up, we have Vanessa. Now, Vanessa unfortunately doesn't see any play in PvP. She did get quite a unique buff by changing her makeshift weaponry ability to an AoE instead of just stealing attack or dealing damage because of stolen attack. This is actually an AoE staple, and then it gets better by stolen attack. Unfortunately, stealing attack isn't a thing in mercenaries at the minute, other than with Vanessa, because you have to steal it with her in order to scale the makeshift weaponry, and that obviously isn't very good when she is ridiculously slow. Now, the ability you're going to want to upgrade first, especially if you do want to use her, is Dreadblades. This is going to give your Burgle Barrage 4 speed faster and always combos. So this is just going to be a 3 speed, attack an enemy, steal 5 attack from them first. So you can get her up to about 18 and attack an enemy for 3 speed, which is pretty good. But unfortunately, there are other mercenaries that are better. But if you do want to use Vanessa, because she's one of your first mercs that you've unlocked, and it actually is pretty good if you get those two off, then definitely start with those two, and then go for the other two abilities before the other two equipments. Stealing 4 attack from an enemy opposite this on a battle cry isn't very good, and passive whenever a merc is attacked, steal 4 attack from the attacker isn't very good either. So definitely go for the AoE after, and then go for the Shifting Satchel, which will give +1 cooldown to an ability that they didn't use this turn. Very good, but you can't use it on turn 1 if you're wanting to do an AoE on turn 1. So Burgle, Dread, Makeshift, and then Shifting. Next up, we have everybody's favorite, Trigor the Lasher. Now obviously I'm speaking ironically, but this only needs 2 things upgraded, and that is Backlash ability, gain 5 attack after an enemy damages an adjacent ally this turn, deal this merc's attack damage to them. he gains 5 attack, goes to 15. No, he gains 9 attack, so backlash gives an additional 4, and this has no cooldown. So this is a 1 speed, almost guaranteed to go first, gain 9 attack, and then once an adjacent minion takes damage, Trigor is going to hit them for free. No retaliation damage, just dealing damage. It is insane. So they are the two you want to focus on, and then anything else can just be as and whatever you want, because you're only using Trigor for backlash and razor claw. You're never going to use regrow heads. You're never going to use the equipment for regrow heads. You occasionally attack if he's scaled enough, but he is mainly just doing these two, and you never use the infuse amber. Next up, we have Uther Lightbringer. Now, Uther used to be a caster, but he was changed to a protector so that we can have a 1-speed protector, Holy Taunt Merc. Blessing of Protection is very good. It gives you the ability to give a character taunt. He's the only Merc that allows you to do that. But the thing is, what you want to be upgrading on this Merc is kind of for PvE. You don't really use this Merc for PvP. You don't actually use him for PvE that much, to be honest. He's not a very great Merc. He's a legendary, but doesn't actually do that much. So he has a unique ability, which I guess makes him legendary. So being able to give something taunt is very, very strong. You do not need to restore that much health to them, because you just want to be giving them the taunt, and that's the unique thing about this Merc. As of the equipments, you probably are going to want to do Libram of Sacrifice. Death Rattle, give your characters Divine Shield, is very good. It does prevent them wanting to kill Uther, because you're going to protect other mercenaries doing that. That is what Uther is doing in PvP. So with that being said, you probably want to be doing Hammer of Justice, because you're going to be dealing 15 damage and slowing their unit. Because this is a 5-speed, they're going to get slowed next turn, because 9 times out of 10 the thing you want to slow down is going to be a quick Merc, and you want to slow it down for the following turn. So if I was you, I would go for the Libram of Sacrifice first, then the Hammer of Justice, or the other way around actually, because you're going to want to be using the Hammer of Justice straight away. But I guess you're not going to be going into PvP until you have those ready. And then I would go for just the Blessing and the Avenging Wrath in order, just so that you can upgrade all the abilities first and then go back to the other two equipments. Next up, we have Tidemistress Athissa. So the way you want to be doing this is, a lot of the time you're going to want to be doing the Warlord Parish, where the battle cry summons a Naga, because you're going to be playing in a Naga build, and having an extra Naga is obviously a lot better than having one less Naga. Plus it gives you a taunt up as well to deny some of those combos where they might be going for the lowest health unit. As for the abilities, you're going to want to be doing Riptide first and foremost, because if you're going up against Mercs that are attacking and you Riptide on them, they're going to take a ridiculous amount of damage once they attack this turn. And that's when any enemy attacks. It's not just the one that you target attacks, so it's after an enemy attack. So if they have 3 attacking units, this at 3 speed is obviously going to choose the one you want to hit the most. If they attack, they're going to take a lot of damage and potentially die. So Riptide definitely being the first one, and then Captive Tides being the next one. Deals 20 damage to all enemies and increased by 7 for each Naga you control. So that's why you want to be doing the Warlord, so that this deals an extra 7 damage, plus the other 2 Nagas that might be on your team will also buff that by another 14 as well. So that is kind of the way you want to go: Warlord, Riptide and Captive Tides. And then depending on if you want to be using Captive Tides even more, go for the Harpist Soul, because this is going to obviously refresh it every time a Merc takes damage. So this will be refreshed almost every turn. And then you go for the Wave Crush and then the Hatred, because dealing an extra 5 damage isn't that great when there's not many Mercs attacking. So that is kind of where we are with this one. Okay, next up is Vanndar. Now Vanndar is a difficult mercenary to do upgrades for, because he has seen absolutely no play in PvP unless somebody had thought of an idea to come up with gaining some ridiculous amount of attack from Avatar, which unfortunately we have a caster now that does that better. But yeah, he has seen no play. So the way you would upgrade this is basically on whatever it is that you feel like you want to play with him. If you think that he has a spot in PvP, I don't personally, but I guess passive +7 health and taunt is good, so I would go for the immovable object. And then yeah, I would probably go for anything taunt build related. So give friendly characters with taunt +5 attack and attack an enemy at 6 speed could be good in a taunt build. Haven't seen it yet. Attack an enemy, if they survive, deal 6 damage to them and adjacent. Their next ability is slower. Slowing a merc could be pretty good. 1 speed slower, not very great. And then Avatar, obviously, if you're trying to do some crazy shenanigans where you get it to 1 health, he gains then 85 and attacks an enemy, then awesome. Definitely go for Avatar if you can pull that off. But go for the immovable object and then any of the abilities based on what it is you're trying to use him for. Okay, next up we have Vanndar. So Vanndar actually did see some PvP play because of Trigor. Now Trigor was doing some weird crazy backlash shenanigans, so people saw the retaliation being a very similar ability to that. So after an enemy attacks his turn, gain 5/5 and attack it. So if there was new pirates that came out and the people trying pirate builds, then Vanndar started showing up with the retaliation. Being able to gain 5/5 is huge, and attack an enemy every single time an enemy attacks is massive, and that was kind of what he was used for. So if you want to try that again and upgrade Vanndar in a way that you can use him in PvP, then definitely go for the retaliation. Also, the one you want to be doing is War Banner. If that's the case, being able to gain an additional 210 is massive. You'll be 715, which is huge if you're going up against attacking units. If not, and you want to use him for PvE, then passive 7 attack is always nice. And also the splitting strike, attack an enemy, death blow, give your humans 15 attack. You could put him into a human build. There are a lot of humans that can benefit from the attack, and it is a pretty good death blow if you're playing PvP especially. Heroic Leap, dealing 14 damage to an enemy and your other humans on the bench are permanently faster, sees absolutely no play. Dealing 14 damage maybe for a 4-speed snipe, but there's obviously a million things that are better than that. So with this one, go for the retaliation and the War Banner, and then that's for PvP, but for PvE you go for the splitting strike and the passive +7 attack. Next up, we have Y'Shaarj. Now, Y'Shaarj is a fantastic merc, sees PvP play all the time because old gods are absolutely nuts. People are having to build decks just to target reds because of how powerful Y'Shaarj is. So what you're going to want to be upgrading for Y'Shaarj is all of it, because Y'Shaarj fits into so many different comps. There's a shadow one where the defiled attack absolutely dominates, and if defiled attack dominates, then you're going to be using Mark of Y'Shaarj, which borrows attack because of an extra 5 attack because of defiled, which is huge. If you're using it in a slower old gods builds, then you're going to be using the strength of Y'Shaarj to refresh 3 times, which is massive, followed by the range unbound on turn 2, which is also ridiculously good. So if you're going to be doing that type of build, then you're going to be doing the idol so that you can gain extra attacks from the rage unbound. So basically the only one you don't want to be doing is the Heart of Y'Shaarj. So if you're running it in a Shadow Kazakus build, go for the defiled and go for the mark. But if you're running it in a full old god comp, then go for the strength, then the idol and the rage unbound. Those 3 obviously are a lot harder to get because you need all of the old gods to pull it off, whereas you only need these 2 for the Y'Shaarj shadow comp. Vol'jin's easier to get hold of and Kazakus is easier to get hold of than the old gods. So in my personal opinion, I would go for the defiled attack and the mark of Y'Shaarj because that comp is very strong and it's a lot easier to obtain. And last but not least, for this protector part 2 is Yulong. Now, Yulong, being the last mercenary, is a very strong rare mercenary. Like we said before with Localar, rare mercenaries get overlooked, but they are probably the strongest mercenaries in the game other than the legendaries. They are definitely stronger than some of the legendaries, and the reason Yulong is no exception is because of the Jade Flame buffet. So block taunts and stealth and all other characters for 2 turns, and give your characters 10 health. So 10 health is huge for your other characters. Being able to block taunts and stealth is massive. Jade Fire Spirit, it will be the equipment of choice, where you can just buff up all of your units by an extra 15 health, which is absolutely nutty. So definitely go for the Jade Fire Spirit first, unless you want to use it in a nature build, or unless you want to use it in a full dragon comp. The reason Jade Fire Spirit is so good because of the Jade Flame is because you can use that in more builds than just one archetype. So you can use that in a token build with Cho, being able to keep up your tokens a lot stronger, keep them alive a lot longer, and that is kind of what he does. He just buffs up a load of stuff with the Jade Flame buffet turn after turn after turn, and it is just too much to deal most of the time, and people try to target him down to try and prevent that. So that's what I would do first. I would go for the Jade Flame Spear and then the Jade Flame buffet first, and then I would go for archetypes afterwards. So if you want to use a nature build where you gain 3 nature, repeat for each friendly dragon, so you're running a full dragon comp or a part dragon comp with nature backline, you're going to want to be doing the mist and the pendant specifically for that comp. But if you're running a full dragon comp and you want to protect your dragons a little bit longer, then the Pearl of Yulong obviously being very good to do that, so I would do it for that if you want to be going for a full dragon comp. But Jade Flame Gust being a solid 10 speed ability, dealing 40 damage to an enemy if they attacked, obviously 80 if it's a fighter. Fighters primarily attack, so you're going to be able to deal 80 with that. So Yulong being a fantastic mercenary, having access to all of these in different archetypes is kind of what we need for every single mercenary. So depending on where you want to go with Yulong, upgrade as and when you want to use it in a specific build. My personal opinion would be the Jade Flame Spear and the Jade Flame Buffet being the very first ones you want to target. So that is it for today's video. That is all of the protectors covered now, unless for some reason in the next patch they're going to introduce a new one that I haven't covered. I will try to cover that in a separate video if they do. But please, if you do enjoy this content, or if this helps you in any way, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, so that a lot more people can see this and we can try to bring in a lot more mercenary players and try and make this game mode, well, it was supposed to be on launch over a year ago. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.